All right, finally the video we've all been waiting for, the day we cut some metal. I'm going to be using the tool that I linked in my second video. This is the one that came from Shars with the included insert, and it does an okay job, as you'll see here. Also, I have a parting tool, which I have not shown before, and I also got this from Shars. It was an inexpensive solution, not a very good one, but also came with an insert, and we will cover that more here in just a moment. So the first thing I'm going to be cutting is a piece of 1-inch hot rolled mild steel, so this would be like A36 type, and I'll do some facing, turning, and parting on the various types of material we're going to be working on here. And I just, I painted that front with a black marker just to kind of show you how it cuts, in case you couldn't figure it out. Anyway, it leaves a terrible finish, and I'm not sure if that is because it's hot rolled steel, which I think is part of the reason, or it's because I don't know what I'm doing, which I think is most of the reason, or because this is the wrong insert, which I think is also probably part of the reason. So all in all, I'm pretty amazed that this works even a little bit. You can see on my first pass, we're definitely not getting through the rust layer. So this material actually measures about 1 inch and 20 thousandths from where I've measured it in a couple of places. I got it dirt cheap. I think I got, like 9 feet for $12. So that's the nice thing about hot rolled, and cold rolled doesn't really cost much more. But it's a nightmare to work with. It's almost like trying to cut butter with a chisel. The metal just doesn't want to come off. It's almost gummy. Now I take 10 thousandths passes, but you can see here on my finishing pass at 5 thousandths, I actually get a pretty decent finish. Now for the parting, what I found out is the more aggressive, or the faster I feed in rather, the better it works. When I first started to try to part steel, I was getting a lot of chatter and just awful squealing. It still squeals quite a bit, but just really bad. And the more aggressive I would become, the less it would chatter and squeal. So you can't just jab it in there, of course, but once you get it started, you can feed in pretty fast. Now, some of that's probably because it's a cheap insert, or a cheap tool. I think these are really crappy inserts, by the way, because you'll notice that the work held in the chuck is perfectly smooth, and the work I just cut off has this big stupid nub thing sticking out of it, or tip, or I don't know what it's called. But in videos I've seen on YouTube, that's usually left on the piece of material that's still in the chuck. So here I've had to chuck my finished part up just to cut this nub off, which is really annoying. Now this is academic because I'm not actually trying to make a part or a tool or anything. This is just I'm cutting for the sake of the video. But still, it's pretty annoying. So I'm hoping there's another type of insert for this tool holder. If anybody knows of one, please post below, or any tips or advice you might have, I would appreciate it. Again, more terrible surface finish on this hot rolled. And as you probably saw, I'm using a new corner of this insert. So, I'm trying to give the lathe as much of an advantage as possible. You'll also notice that the metal is cut flat there with no little tip in the middle. I did not have to shim or center my my tool at all. I just bolted it down and it cut perfectly on center. So I'm pretty excited about that. Okay, this is 6061 aluminum, 1/2 inch diameter. And the aluminum is so much nicer to work with. 10 thousandths on the facing cut you saw there, and it just cuts like butter. The only thing about aluminum I found out is you can't be too aggressive, and you really need to have the smallest amount of stick out as possible from the chuck. Ooh, accidentally plunged in there. Because the metal will flex much more than steel. So let's go ahead and speed this up, take a couple more turning cuts. And when it comes to parting, it also parts much nicer than steel. You can be pretty much as aggressive as you want. It doesn't squeal. It doesn't chatter nearly as much. So I'm pretty pleased with this tool as far as working in aluminum goes. However, again, once you cut your part off, it's got that stupid nub left on the end of it, and now you've got to go chuck that up and face it back off, which I didn't do in this case, but here it is next to that piece of hot rolled, and you can see the surface finish on the aluminum is better. And here's just a really close up view of facing, I guess. This is actually slow motion. You're looking at 400 frames per second. This is a feature built into my camera. I thought it was going to turn out cooler than it did, so I left it in anyway. It's really dark and grainy too. Now this is the worst thing I've tried to cut so far. This is 3/16 stainless steel. I paid $8 for this little slug at Metal Supermarket. It was just a remnant that I bought because I thought, hey, it might be kind of fun to try cutting stainless steel. It is not fun, and it ruined my bit. This first cut's 5/1000ths, and my next several cuts are going to be 10/1000ths. And at one point, the metal started folding over on each other, and I couldn't get it to. Here, we'll speed this up. I couldn't get it to cut all the way. I couldn't get it to cut all the way. Here, you'll see. I think it's on this pass. Yeah, see how it folds over? I thought maybe I'd accidentally cut 20/1000ths instead of 10, so I went back and I tried to take 5 and then 5 more, and it just kept doing it. And I ended up getting a lot of heat buildup. Look, you can see the metal coming off there is straw and purple. And here it folds over again. I've read that stainless is a nightmare, and so far for me it has been. Also, the surface finish is terrible. You can see it's got all these puck marks and just looks like crap. So I don't think I'll be working with stainless too much in the future if I can avoid it. Let me take that out of here real quick, and I think I show it. Yeah, so here's another. You can just tell how bad it is. Now I ended up using a brand new insert. It was another insert I got from Shars actually to clean up the other side of this slug. I don't have it in the video, but it did a much better job. And I don't know if that's just because it was a better insert or because it was brand new. But anyway, I don't like it. Now this is a piece of cold rolled, so 1018, and we'll take a couple of facing cuts and just turn it down a little bit. This the cold rolled is a little bit nicer than the hot rolled as far as finish and how nicely it cuts in general, but it's still not very good. So I think if I have the option to get cold versus hot, I will. But I can't say it's a huge difference. When it comes to parting, it was pretty much the same. Started in slow, and once the insert is cutting, then start getting really aggressive with it to shut down that chatter a little bit. And it parts off just fine and leaves that stupid nub on the finished piece again, which I'll keep mentioning because I'm still mad about. Anyway, that pretty much sums it up. So, hey, thanks for checking out the video. Please subscribe and, like, rate, comment. If you have any questions, post below. If you have any advice, I'd love to hear it. I'm not afraid to be told that I suck at this because I know I do. So feel free to, let's be polite about it, but feel free to leave your advice or your helpful tips below. Also, real quick, I want to show you the... okay, so there's the finished piece I just cut off, but the tool that I used to cut that stainless, you can see, all the cuts that were made on that tip were done in this video. You've seen them all, and that insert's already smoked. So anyway, hopefully this was less boring than the 5 previous videos. I got more to come, so stay tuned. And yeah, thanks for checking this one out, guys.